All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. My name is Nick, and I am the founder of Understanding Behavior. Tonight, we are going to be reviewing verbal behavior. I'm excited for this one. Really cool presentation. We're getting into some of the history behind verbal behavior. We'll talk about each of our verbal operants. We'll talk about how the exam is going to try to trick you on verbal behavior, and then we'll go through some examples as well. How's everybody feeling tonight? How we doing? We good, we good, we good. Do we have any first timers here? I know we have Laura C in chat as first timer. Awesome. Mrs. Rivero's music classroom. Welcome, welcome. First timer too. Yay. Taylor Miller, first time. Welcome, welcome. So glad you can make it here tonight. Good. Alyssa, good to see you again. Awesome, awesome. Sweet, lots of first timers here. Iridian, Tracy, Jazelyn, second timer. Okay, that's just as cool, really. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Well, yeah, we're going to go over verbal behavior today. It's going to be really fun. If you're not familiar with our stuff, you should definitely check out understandingbehavior.shop. We've got some really great deals, including our super ultimate mock bundle, which comes with our full mini mock package and 2 different mock exams, all with very thorough feedback and gives you everything you need to know. Tonight we'll be doing some kind of giveaway. We'll give away one of these 4 products. So either one of our mock exams, the mini mock package, or our fluency our fluency quizzes package. The mini mocks and the fluency quizzes are available on our app as well as our study hall recordings and notes. So definitely check out the Understanding Behavior app if you are interested in that. And we'll be giving away one of these products for free tonight. If you're not familiar, the things that usually triggers the giveaways is if we have more likes on the video. So if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that thumbs up like button so we can get that counter high and give away these mocks even faster. Let's hop right into our material. I'm feeling it tonight. So we are going over verbal behavior, and this is Understanding Behavior's live stream. Here we go. Here's our agenda. First, we're going to talk about what is a verbal behavior. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between form and function of behavior. Then we'll talk about verbal versus vocal responses, audience versus speaker's roles, breakdown of verbal operants, formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence, tricky types of questions, and then we'll end up with a quiz. So let's start with what is verbal behavior. We've got this guy here, B.F. Skinner, wrote the textbook Verbal Behavior in 1957. This was a different kind of text that he wrote. So this one was it didn't have any experiments like a lot of his other works. This was essentially just a conceptual work. So verbal behavior is defined as behavior that's reinforced through the mediation of other persons. What this means is essentially that it's speech or communicative behavior that is reinforced through other people. And he also explains that these other persons must be responding in ways which have been conditioned precisely in order to reinforce the behavior of the speaker. So not only is it reinforced by other people, but these people are specifically reinforcing these behaviors in a specific way, kind of related to our verbal communities. Let's first talk about function versus form of language. So when we're looking at form of language, we're looking at what the behavior looks like. So this includes the type of verbal utterance it is, including like speech, signs, text, and icons, etc. But this also refers to the specific content that makes up the form of the response. So this includes what words are included, what phonemes are used, and what grammar is going to be used, etc. On our other end, we're looking at function. In behavior analysis, function of behavior is one of the most important things. Function refers to the history of context and consequences of verbal responses. So context, looking at our antecedents, and then consequences, looking at the result of these verbal behaviors. I also like to look at the impact of this text, the 1957 text, Verbal Behavior. So before verbal behavior came out, most most like analyses of language, we're using form-based analyses. So we're looking at what words are being used, but it didn't really look as much about the function of the behavior. It didn't look about like how these behaviors are being used and what they communicate. This text also showed that language is not necessarily innate to humans, but it is learned. So we can learn language, and language can change depending on how a community evolves and how the language is used. So just like any behavior, we can explain it by our environmental contingencies. We can explain it by our ABCs. Let's also talk about Noam Chomsky. He was one of the biggest critics of Skinner's verbal behavior. And it was really unfortunate that when verbal behavior came out, Noam Chomsky kind of like missed the point of verbal behavior. But Noam Chomsky is a fairly prominent philosophical figure. He's still alive today. But I think, in my opinion, that he kind of missed the point of verbal behavior. And what Noam Chomsky said is that he argued that humans, instead of like learning through like environmental contingencies, he argued that humans are special, that we have this language acquisition apparatus inside of us that makes us really special, and this is what allows us to form speech and have more complex language. But this is really dumb because, first of all, there's no such thing as a language acquisition apparatus. We've never identified that as a biological thing. And we've also seen a lot of organisms emit verbal behavior. And we can, again, understand verbal behavior by looking at the environmental contingencies and context that form it and make it up. Also, kind of fun fact is that Chomsky was found donating money to Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't know, just if it says anything about the character, not so great. All right. Let's next talk about vocal versus verbal behavior. The vocal behavior is referring to behavior that is produced by the vocal cords. So I think that's the easiest way to identify this and see differentiate between vocal and verbal behaviors. That vocal is produced by the vocal cords. Verbal behavior, on the other hand, is any kind of communication that's mediated by another individual. So we're looking at verbal behavior being social, and it can have lots of different forms, but vocal behavior is specifically with our vocal cords. Let's talk next about our audience versus speaker roles. So both of these are very important when we are looking at and analyzing verbal behavior. Our contingencies are always going to be framed around our speaker. So we want to analyze the behavior of the individual whose behavior is of interest. When we're looking at the context of the speaker behavior, the verbal behavior of others is going to serve as a stimulus to the speaker. So when we're analyzing my verbal behavior, then your verbal behavior could be a stimulus to me. And when we're analyzing your verbal behavior, then my verbal behavior would be a stimulus to you. So again, all focusing around that speaker. Yeah, some people are mentioning some blurriness. That's probably your own internet connection. Should be good. But yeah, it's probably your own internet connection that's not keeping up if you're seeing some blurriness. When we refer to an audience, this can be like your current audience, or it could be a broader verbal community. So it could be the people that, again, you're directly interacting with, or we could refer to this in a broader sense about like who's like the general population that you're interacting with. So like when I'm teaching my content, I'm generally interacting with students that are studying for the BCBA exam. This can also create stimulus control of VB. So, for example, like my audience right now is people studying for the BCBA exam, and that modifies my language a little bit differently than if I'm like hanging out with friends, for example. We also want to think about covert verbal behavior. This is just a fancy way to look at thinking. And when you're thinking, you are serving as both the audience and the speaker. So it's kind of interesting where it's like, okay, you're thinking, I'm the audience and the speaker, but the contingencies kind of work in the same way, but it's just a little bit weirder because we're playing both roles of that internally. Yeah, we have a question in chat. Is the audience the same as the listener? So yeah, most of the time that's going to be the same exact thing or referring to the same thing. Yep, right on track. Okay, sweet. Well, how are we feeling about verbal behavior so far? I know we kind of just covered a lot of stuff. We're going to have some more interactive elements coming up soon. I also say we've got more than 90 people here, but just 47 likes on the video. I think we're getting close to our giveaway trigger, so if you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet, great time to go ahead and do that. Thanks for everybody who has done that so far and is doing that right now. Sweet, I'm glad you guys are feeling groovy so far. Let's talk about our verbal operants now. So verbal operants are just behavioral contingencies, again, that are reinforced by others. They have a common consequence. So most of our verbal operants are going to be reinforced by what we call generalized conditioned social reinforcement, also known as GCSR for a shorthand. When we think about GCSR, this is either praise, approval, and or coherence. So, for example, if I showed you this water bottle and I'm like, hey, check out my pet lion, and you're like, Nick, that's a water bottle, not a pet lion, then that would not be given like that GCSR. It's not given that approval. But if I'm like, hey, check out my new water bottle, you might be like, cool, yeah, Nick, that's a water bottle, sweet. Then I'm getting that kind of approval for that verbal response. The only exception for GCSR being the consequence of a verbal operant is the mand. A mand is reinforced by a specific reinforcer, and we'll get into those in just a minute. So since the consequence is pretty much the same for all of our verbal operants, typically what we want to focus on is that relationship between our antecedent and the form of the behavior. So since the consequence is going to be the same most of the time, this is going to be the main relevant feature that we need to focus on. Okie dokie. So let's go ahead and we're going to look at our elementary verbal operants. Well, I'm gonna see how you guys can do on these, and we're gonna identify the different antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. Let's first start off with the man. So let's see some answers in chat that discuss the antecedent, behavior, and consequence for a man. Let's see what you guys got. Yeah, we have a question. Can the GCSR be social disapproval if that is reinforcing? I guess it would have to look at the specific operant. But in general, I would say no. Like if that's not agreed upon, then it's probably not going to reinforce the behavior. Like if it's not like generally reinforced like that in the community. But maybe. Like sometimes the attention could just overpower it. All right, sweet. So yeah, a lot of people are getting the antecedent here, but let's get all three parts of our contingency. So antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Loving the answers coming through. Yeah, Natalie's right on track. I got all three parts there. Yeah, Ellie too. That looks great. Also, we've got both of our tutors in chat here tonight. We've got Crystal and Amber. Crystal is recovering from the flu, but still made it, and Amber's just joining us now. Love to see it. If you haven't booked tutoring sessions with them, but you're looking for some personalized help, they are both amazing options, so make sure you go check those out. Again, on the Understanding Behavior Shop. All right, so talking about our man, here's our contingency. Our antecedent is going to be an establishing operation, so something that makes something else more reinforcing. Our behavior is a request for a specific reinforcer, and the consequence is receiving that specific reinforcer. And when we're talking about a man, like we want to look at the past history of our, with any verbal operant, we want to look at the past history. So it's still a man if it's generally resulted in that specific reinforcer, but not currently resulting in that specific reinforcer. Let's go ahead and move on to tact now. Again, let's go for all three components here. What's the antecedent, behavior, and consequence? The consequences are going to get easy because a lot of them are similar. I know, we're looking at tact. Man is the easy one, but tact a little trickier. What do you guys got? All right, Lindsay's the first bold one here. Danny pointing out the silence. What else you guys got? Yeah, Alyssa R, right on track. Ooh, Natalie, I like where you're going. All right, now we're getting some answers in. Looking good. EO and MO are generally interplaceable terms. We had a question about that. All right, lots of good answers, a little bit of variety here, but overall looking really good. Thanks for everybody who is responding and staying active. That is certainly the best way to get the most out of this presentation. Our tact, the antecedent is a non-verbal stimulus. So some people put like sight of an item or something along those lines, but really it's sensing any kind of stimulus. So it's something that you feel, something that you smell, something that you hear, etc., etc. Our behavior is a label of that stimulus. So we're going to label like what that is or what it feels like. And our consequence is going to be GCSR. So again, that generalized conditioned social reinforcement. So when I call this a lion, like that's not going to get any approval. But when I call this a water bottle, that's generally going to be approved by my audience, my verbal community right here. Okay, let's move on to intraverbal now. Let's get an ABC in place. What we got? What do we got? See, Amber's reinforcing my response. This is a water bottle. Absolutely. Well, yeah, LT's on the right track. Alyssa's on the right track. Laura C is too. Good, yeah, I like where you're going, Bridget. Candace, that looks good. Jameson looks good. Akanksha looks good. Awesome, awesome. Liking these answers. Keep it up, crew. Let's take maybe 10 more seconds. Yeah, Brandy, right on the right track. Brittany looks good too. Sarah, I like where you're going. Yeah, it's okay, Lindsay. You can, good practice. You can tighten it up a little bit. Okie dokie. So our ABCs here is that we have a verbal stimulus as our antecedent. We have our related verbal response is going to be the behavior, and we have GCSR as our reinforcement. So again, that praise, approval, coherence, etc. Cool, cool, cool. Looking good. Okay, next up I want to talk about these two terms, very important, formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence. I find that formal similarity is something that most students misunderstand or learn the wrong way, so listen up because I'm going to tell you the real good goods here. When we're referring to formal similarity, what we're looking at is a relation between our antecedent and our behavior. And this is has two different things here. So the response form is going to be the same exact content of the response, and it's also going to be the same exact form of the response. So when I say strawberry and you say strawberry, those two things have formal similarity with each other. If I say strawberry and you say banana, those do not have formal similarity with each other because they are different content. So we want the same response form, and it has to be the same exact content for formal similarity. So really important. Most people just think about like formal similarity. It's like, oh, the form is the same. But form also refers to the words and the phonemes and etc. that make up that response, not just the modality of that response. So not just like vocal and vocal, for example. Cool. Jameson, we'll get there. Don't worry. Let's talk about point-to-point correspondence. Point-to-point correspondence is similar. It's also going to be a relationship between our antecedent and behavior. And this is when the antecedent and the behavior have some kind of meaningful and exact relation between the stimulus and behavior. So they don't need to be the same modality, but they do need to be made up of the same content. So if I if I say the word strawberry and then you type the word strawberry, those have point-to-point correspondence because those letters exactly relate to my words. Cool. So formal similarity, antecedent, and behavior are exactly the same form and the content. Point-to-point correspondence is that there's this meaningful exact relation between the two, but the form of the response or modality of the response can be different. All right. So formal similarity applies to our duplex. Our point-to-point corresponding applies to both our duplex and our codex. Let's talk about our duplex first. Our duplex, again, they have our point-to-point correspondence and our formal similarity. And we can think about our duplex as that we're duplicating our antecedent with the response. We'll start with the most familiar one, the echoic, and we'll have you go ahead and label the ABCs of our echoic response. And be careful here when you're using the words vocal and verbal. That's a little hint. Give it your best go. What you guys got? Echoics. Again, we're labeling our ABCs. Careful with vocal and verbal. LT, which one? Are you sure? Natalie, I like where you're going. Laura looks good. Bridget looks good. Asma looks good. Cool. Aaron's got a nice example there. Okay, dokie. Let's go ahead and check this one out. Our antecedent, is it verbal or vocal? It's vocal antecedent. So we're hearing sounds that have been produced by the vocal cords. Our behavior is going to be a copy of that vocal antecedent, and the consequence is our GCSR. This is not verbal because, again, verbal refers to any kind of communication. Vocal specifically means created by the vocal cords. All right, this term mimetic, a little bit less familiar. Mimetic is kind of like copying like a sign. So let's think about that and see if you can come up with the ABCs for a mimetic. Think about it as like copying a sign or like a motor verbal response. Here would be an example. It's like if I put up a peace sign, you also put up a peace sign. So what do you guys think? How would we label the ABCs of a mimetic? It's a little bit different than our motor imitation. So motor imitation does not necessarily need to be a verbal response, but mimetics are specifically a verbal response. So again, a verbal response is defined that it's reinforced by mediation of other individuals, and those individuals are specifically reinforcing it in a particular way. Yeah, this one is tricky. Yeah, Crystal, I like that one. That's one of my favorites. Okay, let's go ahead and check this one out. Our antecedent is going to be a motor verbal stimulus. So again, it's going to be a sign that communicates something. Our behavior is that we're copying that motor verbal stimulus, and we've got GCSR as our consequence. No surprise there. All right, last one, copying text. Hopefully it's pretty straightforward. Let's try to get the ABCs down for copying text. Yeah, so thinking about motor verbal stimulus thinking back to mimetics real quick. I'll let you guys continue with copying text right now. But thinking about mimetics real quick, again, that needs to be a motor verbal stimulus. So if it's like waving, like communicating hi, and then you wave back, that would be a mimetic. Peace sign back, the bird, and then the bird back, that would also be mimetic. But if it's like clapping hands, or sorry, yeah, if it's, well, I guess clapping hands can communicate something. But let's just say it's like jumping up and down, like that doesn't really communicate anything. And like if we were to like imitate that, then that wouldn't necessarily be a mimetic. Oh yeah, Concha, I like where you're going with that. Amanda looks good. Yeah, Amber and Crystal have some good examples of, or non-examples of mimetics in chat. I like that. We're also getting pretty close to our like counter giveaway trigger. I don't know, we're pretty close to it. I'm liking the answers so far. Yeah, Mrs. Rivero looking good. Laura, I like where you're going. All right, sweet. We passed our 69 like counter, so we'll go ahead and do our giveaway right after this. Excellent job. Thanks so much for everybody doing that. All right, copying text. So our ABCs here is that we have a written stimulus as our antecedent. Behavior is we have a copy of the written stimulus, and then our reinforcer is, again, our GCSR. Awesome. Looking really great. Great, everybody. Again, we just met our like counter trigger at 69 likes. So let's go ahead and do a giveaway. If you win the giveaway, you can choose any 4 of these products. So you can get either the Beat the Beast 1, Beat the Beast 2, our mini mock package, or the fluency questions, whatever you need. Let's go ahead and if you'd like to participate, put in a number between 1 and 500 in chat, and we'll give the closest person the prize for tonight. And if we have a tie, then we will do a roll off. Yeah, Tia, I think you won the whole bundle last week, so thanks for holding off. We'll give you guys maybe 10, 15 more seconds, and then we'll wait a little bit. You guys are going. Our GCSR, once again, is Generalized Condition Social Reinforcement, so that's referring to like praise, approval, something like that. Yeah, 1 entry per person, or else you will be disqualified. All right, last call here. Last call. All right, we're making Jalen our last participant. Or sorry, we'll give it to Taylor. Will be our last participant. What's our number? 463. Who we got? We got 444. 463. Who else is closer? Oh, we had 2 444s. Oh, we have 455. That's even closer. Ooh, we have Bridget at 455. I'm seeing that's the closest so far. 450 was close. I think it's Bridget, but help me out in chat here, guys. Was anybody closer? Sometimes I miss these. All right, Crystal's confirming me here. 455 is the closest. All right, we're going to give it to Bridget Orta. Oh, wait, we had a 467. Jennifer. Wait, where was that? Uh-oh. Where was that 467? I'm looking in chat here. Oh, no, she had 367, Jennifer. All right, I think it's Bridget. All right, perfect. We'll give it to Bridget Orta. Congratulations. Yeah, to claim your prize, Bridget, send me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com. Let me know which of these 4 amazing prizes that you would like, and we'll get you set up with that. Definitely check out our store if you are interested in any of these products. Again, you can get the Super Ultimate Mock Bundle that comes with all 3 of those products for just $139. Really great deal, and really high quality products. You are sure to learn quite a bit from them. All right. Awesome. Let's keep on trucking along. So those were our duplics. Again, in our duplics, we were duplicating our antecedent. In our codex, we're going to be decoding the antecedent. So these don't have formal similarity, but they do have point-to-point correspondence. Let's talk about our textuals first. Textuals kind of like reading. Can we get our antecedent behavior consequence for our textual behaviors? Let's see what you guys got in chat. Take LT is fast on these. Nice work. Yeah, Bridget looks good. Yeah, Alyssa, I like where we're going. Brandy looks good. Cool, I'll give you guys a few more seconds to answer this one. So yeah, right now we're labeling ABCs of textual behavior. All right, let's go ahead and review this one. Our ABCs here is that we have a written antecedent and that we're reading the text. So this could either be a covert reading or it could be a vocal reading of this text. And then our consequence is our GCSR. So we have point-to-point correspondence where like these words relate to the vocal response or like the reading response. So if I read written antecedent, like this is my antecedent, this would be a textual response. And we have GCSR, again, it's like approval if everything was cool and Gucci here. Okay, let's talk about transcription as our last one. Give it a go. We're going to do our ABCs once again. All right, I'm liking where the answers are going. Yeah, I have a question. Are autoclitics relevant to the 6th edition? I would not worry about autoclitics for the exam. There's like, I think it's a near zero chance you're going to see it on the exam. Nobody's mentioned it recently at all. So I would not worry about autoclitics. I also would not worry about tact extensions. I know BAS has been testing people on tact extensions recently. Not useful for the exam. That's what's I think really like differentiates understanding behavior content from a lot of other places is that we really focus on the things that are going to be relevant for the exam. There's a lot of extra details out there that you don't need, and we try to filter those out so you don't need to worry about them. All right, let's go ahead and talk about transcriptions. Transcriptions, we have a vocal stimulus as our antecedent. The behavior is going to be writing down the words from that vocal stimulus. And then lastly, we have GCSR as our consequence. Cool. So again, in our duplex, we are copying our antecedent. Codex, we are decoding our antecedent. And we don't have formal similarity with our codex. Last operant I want to talk about here is listener responding. This is responding to the verbal communication of another individual in a very specific way. Here's our contingency. So we have the antecedent is going to be some kind of verbal instruction. So it doesn't necessarily need to be vocal. It could be like written directions, for example. Behavior is going to be following that instruction. Consequence, GCSR. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and review for you the ways that the exam is going to try to trick you. And then we're going to look at some examples, do a little quiz, and I'm going to try to trick you. So here's some things that you want to look out for. A lot of the questions are going to have multiple verbal responses and or speakers in the question. So make sure you're very focused on like who the speaker is in the question and focus on that behavior. So again, yeah, stay very oriented on the question. We'll also want to look at past history, not always the current moment. So we want to look at that history of reinforcement. So if something's like not necessarily being reinforced in the moment, but it has that history of reinforcement, it would still fall under that operant. So make sure you're focused on that. Sometimes you might also have weird antecedents. So like you might have like motor communication in an interverbal frame. Or you might have a tact that's like looking at tacting like traits or feelings instead of like the names of items, for example. So watch out for those. And then last way the exam might try to trick you is looking at disguised operants. So something like might look like a tact but might be a man, depending on the history of reinforcement. So I remember like when I've like been at a party in college or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, that pizza smells really good. And you might think that's a tact, but if it has a history of getting offered pizza, then it's actually a concealed man. And especially if it occurs under like the establishing operation of like being hungry or craving pizza as well. So watch out for those disguise operants because they can get really tricky. Okay, well, let's go ahead and check out some examples and see how you guys do. June grabs her dog's attention and says, "Come here." June's dog comes. What verbal operant did the dog display? Tonight we're not going to talk a lot about multiple control, but that will be included when we release our course soon. Our course, we're anticipating end of March, but we'll see. We're pushing as hard as we can on it. Answers looking really good so far. Yeah, I like some rationales coming in too. Brittany, Bridget, Aaron. What's it like having a dog that listens? I don't know. Mine listens like half the time, so. All right, answers looking really good here. This is listener responding. So we're looking at the dog's behavior. They're responding to a verbal command by engaging in a behavior. So it fits that listener responding frame really nicely. All right, how about this next one? Remy had to run to the bathroom during an important lecture. He asked his neighbor to see their notes real quick to write down. Which verbal operant best describes the writing of the notes? All right, a little mixed on this one. Most people saying F. Cool, we got a couple rationales. Yeah, Brittany, I like your rationale. Natalie looks good. Rachel looks good. Cool. I'm liking it. All right, best answer here is F, copying text. So they're copying the notes. We have the written antecedent, written response, fits that frame perfectly. Next one up, Harold asks, want to play ball after school? Jimmy replies, I'm down, let's do it. Which verbal operant best describes Jimmy's behavior? Okie dokie, let's go ahead and check this one out. The best answer here is C, the intraverbal. So Harold presented a verbal stimulus. He asked a question. Jimmy is responding to that verbal stimulus with a different verbal response. And that fits our intraverbal framework very nicely. We had one question that why isn't this I listener responding? It's because he responded with a verbal response instead of a non-verbal response. So like listener responding is usually responding with more than non-verbal response. Cool. Next one up. While stuck in Sandy's dome, SpongeBob croaks out, "Sandy, I need water." Sandy replies, "A wallet, a watch," and does not provide him water. Which verbal operant best describes SpongeBob's behavior? What do you guys think? Tricky one. Thank you, Amber. I feel like I usually do it better, but my acting skills are off tonight. I know, you gotta love some SpongeBob for absolutely. All right, answer's looking good here. I'm liking the rationales coming through. Yeah, Jaden, Jeanette, Azizullah, that looks good. All right, a few more seconds here and we'll review. Okay, let's check it out. Best one here is going to be A, the manned. So this one, the behavior occurred under this establishing operation where like he needed water while he's in Sandy's dome. And even though it didn't result in water in the moment, the behavior still had a history of receiving water. So it still does count as a manned. If we're looking at Sandy's behavior, this would probably be an intraverbal, where she's responding to a verbal stimulus. Okay, looks good. Gary is texting while driving when another driver honks at him and flips him off. Gary puts his phone down and flips him off back. Which verbal operant best describes Gary flipping the driver off? Amber, you got me. Cool. Yeah, Brittany, I like the rationale here. Natalie looks good too. Good, good, good. Yeah, Karen, right, killing it. Awesome. Great answers, everybody. A few more seconds. We'll review. Okay, best answer here is going to be E, the mimetic. So we had motor verbal antecedent, motor verbal response that copy that antecedent. So that fits our mimetic frame perfectly. Awesome, awesome. A behavior nerd hears an epic Skinner quote at the UB study hall. The quote is, "And what a strange discovery for a would-be tyrant that the only effective technique of control is unselfish," and then writes it down for later. Which verbal operant best describes writing down the quote? I know, I think there was like some relational responding when I was creating this quiz, like a SpongeBob to Gary. It had to have happened. Yeah, answers looking really great so far. Loving the rationales coming through. Nice job, Alyssa and Brittany. Karen looks great. Yeah, Akanksha on the right track. Sarah looks good. Yeah, nice job, Natalie. Killing it, killing it, killing it. Okay. Best answer here is 8, transcription. So we had vocal antecedent and then a written response. It was the operant that we were looking at. So transcription best describes this one. All right. How about this one? While riding a roller coaster, Carla says, "I don't feel so good," and then vomits on her friend sitting next to her. Getting off the ride, her friend says to Carla, "You need to figure this out, bitch." Carla finds them a shower and clean clothes. Then they continue riding more coasters. Which verbal operant best describes Carla's response on the roller coaster? Yeah, that's what's up, Alyssa. Love the rationales. You're killing it tonight. So a lot of different verbal responses in this one. Make sure you're focused on the right one. Cool, answer's looking good. I'm liking where we're going. Yeah, Bobby, rationales are where it's at. Don't be Carla, Amanda. Don't throw up in your friends. What better just to avoid the coasters. All right. Best answer here is going to be B, the tact. So we had nonverbal stimulus, which was how she was feeling. And then she says, "I don't feel so good." She's labeling how she feels. This is best fits that tact framework. Nonverbal antecedent. And then the response is labeling that stimulus and GCSR. Awesome. We're looking really good. So Skinner in verbal behavior, he also talked about stimulus equivalence, which is how relationships between equal things can develop. So essentially, like if I know that this is a water bottle, so like I teach you like this stimulus is a water bottle, then if I ask you like what's a water bottle, then you would be able to select this from an array. A new developments on Skinner's work is called Relational Frame Theory and RFT. Great textbook here if you'd like to learn about RFT. A little on the technical side, but really cool stuff. But essentially, what we're discovering is that there are other relationships other than just equalness that can be developed through like knowing certain language. So, for example, what we have here, this is you can kind of think about this as like a stimulus equivalence triangle, but it has different relationships than equal. So this has slower and faster as the main relationships. We are taught that Miranda is faster than me, and I'm faster than Rupert. So what this can do is it can generate a lot of different responding here. So if I know that I'm faster than Rupert, then we also know that Rupert is slower than me. So we can look at a bunch of different relationships and how they are developed through RFT, and it's really neat technology that that's giving us a way better understanding about like language and how it's developed. This has also led to the development of a really awesome treatment called ACT, which stands for Acceptance and Commitment Treatment. It's a type of psychotherapy that like uses the understanding of language to help break relationships between dysfunctional language. Really cool stuff, and I recommend you checking it out. We're not going to go too deep into it other than that tonight, but I would highly recommend that you check this out on your own because it's cool stuff. Anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of tonight's presentation. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. I loved all the participation. I'm glad that you guys had some good times with all of the examples, and hopefully you learned a few things in this presentation. Make sure you check out understandingbehavior.shop if you want to get the best mock exam products out there. Our Super Ultimate Mock Bundle is the best deal. You can also get the mini mocks on our the Understanding Behavior BCBA app, as well as our fluency questions there. So make sure you're checking out Understanding Behavior Shop and checking out all of our amazing resources that we offer y'all. All right, thank you so much for coming here tonight, guys. We'll be back next week with with a different presentation. We'll have our study groups on Monday and Wednesday, and so make sure you go and check those out. It'll be great. Natalie's asking about the mini mocks. Can you start and stop those? For the mini mocks, like once you start it, you have 24 hours to finish. So you can leave temporarily, but you do need to finish it like fairly quickly. All right, thanks a bunch, everyone. I appreciate you all. Have a great night and see you next week. Bye-bye.